In today's video, we are going to talk about early extension. Now, early extension is something that a lot of golfers struggle with, and it seems to be one of those things where the more you try and fix it, the worse it gets. Now, the reason for this is because early extension is not the fault itself. It is just the reaction to another fault in your swing. So in today's video, I'm going to go through the top 3 things that I see on the lesson tee that cause you to early extend. Before we crack on with these 3 different root causes, we need to define what early extension is. So early extension, very simply, it's in the name, is when our hips extend towards the golf ball too soon on in the downswing and our chest backs up away. Now these happen for 3 main reasons. Number 1, to regain balance. Number 2, to create space. And number 3, to shallow the club. So now we know what early extension is, why it happens. Let's now go on to the 3 root causes. The first root cause that I see, and it's arguably the most common one that I see, is a poor posture position. Now this one's understandable because modern day society, a lot of the time we are sitting down, whether it be in an office, working, or just driving around in our cars. Now when we do this, we get very, very tight hip flexors. And as a result, the posture position that we see is one that looks like this. We've all seen this posture where we've got a lot of knee flex, our butt is a long way behind our heels, and we've got sort of this arch in our lower back. So this arch is called anterior pelvic tilt. Another way to look at it is it's sort of like an S-shaped posture to my back. Now the issue with this is 2 things are compromised here. Number 1, balance, and number 2, rotation. So it's very hard to rotate. Reason why balance is compromised is suddenly I've got a really large mass, which is my glutes, too far behind my heel, and my chest is now very close to the ground. So in this position, everything's sort of spread out. So what my body is going to do is it's going to extend itself in the downswing, which is your early extension, in order to get the hips back underneath the body. Now also, why is it doing this? Well, when we sort of get this S shape in our pelvis tilts down towards the ground quite a lot. This makes it very, very difficult for us to rotate our hips. So as a result, as we early extend, we're also getting our hips back to more of a level position, which then allows us just to rotate through the shot. Now, often when I have clients come to me and they are struggling with these sorts of issues in terms of their posture, they often complain about having a lot of back issues. So if you're somebody who really struggles with, lower back pain when you play, or you just feel, after 9 holes that everything's just hurting, chances are you're doing something wrong in your setup, and this one is absolutely crucial for you. So how do we fix this? Really simple, actually. What we're going to do is feel like we bring our belt buckle closer to our belly button. So if I do that for you right now, you can see I'm sort of tucking my hips under. Another way to think of it is imagine your belt buckle is sort of like a bucket. If I have my hips tilted forwards a lot, I'm going to have loads of water just pouring out the front of this bucket. So what I'm trying to do is bring my hips underneath me, tuck my pelvis under to try and get this bucket a little bit more level so we can retain the water in there. So when I do this, now you can see the big difference that happens to my lower back. It flattens off. The second thing that you're going to notice is my butt is now nowhere near as far behind me. So suddenly I've put myself in a position to where my lower body is stacked underneath my upper body a lot more. And now my pelvis is a lot more neutral. So as a result, what I'm going to be able to do is rotate freely in the backswing and also be able to rotate and shift freely in the downswing. Now, none of those are going to require me to early extend because I've set myself up in the correct position to where I can maintain balance and I can rotate freely. I now don't have a reason to early extend, so I can just turn through and not even have to worry about it. So the second root cause that we're going into is an open club face in the downswing. Now, why does an open club face in the downswing cause you to early extend? Well, it's all to do with how we square the face up when the club face is open. So let me go to the downswing, and as you can see here, the face is wide open. If I was just to pivot my body really nicely and get into a good impact position, you could see that face is pointing a long way to the right. So our bodies are going to react to this. You might hit a couple to the right and go, well, hold on a second, I don't want to hit the ball to the right. So how does the club get squared up? Well, what your body does is it does 2 things. Number 1, it throws the club down to the ground because this is actually a squaring mechanism. So when we throw the club down to the ground, and you can see in this position as I come into impact that I'm sort of scooping at it, my hands are either level, maybe even slightly back of the club head. In this position, this is the only way I can actually square the face. Now, the second reaction the body does is to early extend. Now, why is this? Well, as I'm throwing the club, the club's working on a wider plane away from me, a wider arc. So as a result, if I wasn't to extend my body, I would just hit the ball fat every time because the club would just get stuck in the ground. So what my body does is it extends the hips forwards, the chest up, and that is to time this widening of your arc later on in the downswing. And again, as you can tell, that sounds like a lot going on in a short space of time, and it is, which is why it is very, very difficult to control, and it's why when players struggle with club face, a lot goes wrong very, very quickly. So how do we fix this? Well, whenever we see an issue with the club face, we've always got to check the grip first because the grip has the biggest influence over the face. Now, there are many different types of grips. Weak grips, neutral grips, strong grips. I don't mind which one you play with as long as it matches up with your pattern. If you look at your grip though, and you see that actually it's quite weak, you know, it's very much in the palm. I can't even see a knuckle as I look down. The V's on my hand are pointing somewhere to your lead shoulder, somewhere in that region. Then you go, okay, I need to change my grip. So we're going to rotate that hand around, make sure we can see at least 2 knuckles on that lead hand. The V is pointing somewhere towards the trail collarbone, trail shoulder, and bring that trail hand on. And again, make sure that that V is again pointing somewhere towards that trail collarbone, trail shoulder. So not saying that this is always going to be a grip change, but it's really important we just tick that box, make sure that it's not a grip issue. If it is a grip issue, then fix that urgently. That'll massively help you in terms of getting that club face into a square position. Now let's just assume that it's not a grip issue. You look at your grip and you go, I've got a pretty good grip, it's pretty neutral, so maybe even slightly strong. Then what are we going to do? Well, now we need to talk about wrist conditions. So, presuming I have a neutral grip, I get into my downswing and you can see here the club face is open right here. Now, what's going on with my hands? Well, the first thing is my left wrist is cupped and my right hand is underneath the club. So in this position here, my right palm is pointing up to the sky and the logo on my left glove is also pointing up to the sky. This is producing an open club face, and as we know, we're going to have to throw the handle in order just to square the face, and that's going to cause me to early extend. So how do we fix this? Well, let's take this same position and let's bow the left wrist. Let's feel like the logo on the left glove is pointing down to the ground and the right palm is also pointing down to the ground. Now you can focus on either one of the hands. I don't mind which one you focus on. If it's easier to focus on the logo on your left glove pointing down to the ground, awesome, do that. If it's easier to focus on the right palm, again, do that. These are both feels that are there to achieve the same outcome. So we're trying to feel like as we come into the downswing that we're rotating these hands more down to the ground, and as a result you can see that club face completely changes position then. From here, because the club face is now in a square position, I can just turn through the shot and I don't have a reason to early extend. Root cause number 3 is a steep shaft in the downswing. Now, what I see with a lot of people is that as they get to the top of their backswing, their chest fires open really quickly, the hands pop out, the shaft gets super steep. Now, why does this cause early extension? Well, early extension can actually shallow out the club. So now in this position, if I thrust my hips forwards and I pull my head back, watch what happens to the shaft. You see how it shallows the shaft late. So early extension, as much as it does all the other things, like we said, regains balance, helps with rotation, also helps sort of control your swing arc, it helps you shallow the shaft. So you can again see early extension. If you didn't early extend, you'd hit some horrendous shots. So this is the whole theme of today's video, is early extension is not the issue. We've got to fix the root cause. In this situation, it's the chest opening up too quick, the hands popping out, shaft getting steep, and then from there, early extend to drop it under and hit a good shot. So how do we fix this? Well, that is the magical question in this. I've got a really simple drill that's going to help you with this. And essentially, we need to control 2 elements, the chest and the shaft. Now, there are a lot of different root causes for this as to why this might happen. So this might not necessarily be your root cause. What I would recommend is seeing a professional, getting their take on it. What is causing you to get over the top? Now, here is just a great drill that can just help you in general. Grip the club with your lead hand only, pop your trail hand behind your back. Go to the top of your swing. Now at the top of your swing, just pause for a second and just let the club fall. Then once the club's fallen, then turn through. Now what you're doing here is you're training 2 things. Number 1, you're training the shaft to shallow in transition. So the center of mass, which is roughly just below the head of the club, is falling behind you. That's the first thing that we're learning right here. The center of mass is falling behind you. The second thing we're learning is to be patient with the chest. I see so many people get to the top of the backswing and they go, I want to hit the ball. And they throw that chest over the top, and as a result, the hands follow it. When you do this drill, it forces you. When you go to the top, you're patient with the chest, stays back, stays pointing towards the camera here. The left arm can fall. club can shallow, and swing through. So just do some left arm only drills. Just get used to what it feels like to let that club shallow, that chest stay patient, and you'll see straight away that shallows out the club. Now from here, because the club's already shallow, I don't need to early extend anymore, otherwise I'll dump it way under the plane. So from here, once the club is actually in a nice position, you can then just turn through, and again, that's fixing your early extension. Once you've done this a couple times, pop your right hand back on. Just feel like your right hand's hardly doing anything. Go to the top of the swing, and again, just try and feel like that club is just falling into that right palm in the transition. Your chest is staying patient, the club is falling down there, and then you can turn through. Again, like I said, there are multiple different reasons as to why you would come over the top. This is just a great drill just to help you fix a couple of them. But what I would recommend is getting some advice and understanding what is the direct root cause as to why you come over the top. But this over the top motion is again causing you to early extend. So there you have it. Those are my 3 most common root causes as to why somebody has to early extend that I see on the lesson tee. Now, as you can tell, early extension in all 3 of these examples wasn't there to hinder the player. It was actually there to help them. So the lesson learned from today is, number 1, these are the 3 most common ones. So chances are, if you're early extending, you might be in one of these 3 categories, if not more than one. But also use this as an example as to you have to find the root cause as to why you are early extending. It might not be one of these 3 examples, it might be. But if you are early extending and you can't figure it out, then seek some professional help. Either get in touch with myself or another professional golf coach, and they will be able to help you identify your root cause. If you've liked the video today, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting weekly content just like this. And if you have any requests for videos, then please drop them down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer every comment and get back as many videos as I can on those topics.